Well, good morning, Michelle. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well, thank you. Happy to be here today.
Happy to have you. I hope you're coming off a good Thanksgiving holiday break. Got a little
I
little downtime.
took some time off, stopped checking Slack, spent time with family, ate all the things. It was great. It
Ate
was
all the
great.
things. I love that. Yeah, turning off the slack is important, isn't it?
It is really surprisingly radical when I tell people that I do that.
I'm crazy excited to talk to you because, as you and I have already sort of discovered, we have a lot in common, which is really going to be fun. But joining us is Michelle Monaco, the Senior Vice President of Product at Wheel. And I'm really interested in how Wheel kind of does their whole virtual care innovation and a lot of the work that you're doing behind democratizing medicine. So I'm excited to jump right in with you, Michelle. So
Okay, let's do
maybe
it. Where
maybe
should where
maybe
should we
we'll just
begin?
yeah, maybe we'll just start with a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about Michelle.
Okay, well, the first thing I will tell you
Mhm.
is, um, as you already said, I lead product, at Wheel. I also recently took engineering into my
Oh,
stewardship
cool,
here
cool.
as well. It's something I've done before. I'm a big
Mm,
believer in building the right thing and building the thing right, and
yes,
that they need to go hand in hand.
nice.
So that's a fun little twist. As far
Mhm.
as background goes, I'm joining you today from Columbus, Ohio. But my family and I are digital nomads, and so we could be in different places at different time. This is our
Love it.
home base. So I am a family woman. Um, so that's why I'm starting there. I grew up in a big family. Family's a big thing for me. I
Nice.
am the mom to two little boys
Oh.
who are homeschooled, and my husband is a full time. He says, "Go out and adventure, dad, not stay at
Ah,
home, dad." So we really take advantage of the flexibility that remote work can
yeah, for
provide.
sure.
Professionally, I have been working primarily remote since pre-pandemic,
Mm,
but have sort of spanned my career across health, wellness, and market research, and now really sinking my teeth in at Wheel, which is great. Most recently, prior to Wheel, I spent 4 years over at Truepill
mm, mhm.
in the digital pharmacy space.
Nice. Very nice.
Also leading product and engineering there. So it's an adjacency,
Mhm.
and excited to be at Wheel and even closer to upstream with the patient care journeys.
I love this. And it's interesting because there is this kind of interesting trend happening right now around product and technology, right? And sort of the assimilation under one single leader, right? Organization I was just a part of before coming to UMass full time was kind of doing the same thing, kind of taking product technology, kind of creating these CPTO type roles, or kind of like you said. I like how you said building the right thing and building it right. I think that's
Yeah, that emerging trend,
yeah.
is one I'm super excited about.
Mm,
Earlier in my career, people would always talk about, "Oh, there has to be this tension,
yeah,
between product and engineering," and it really felt unnatural and wrong
agreed,
to me. That's the hot take,
agreed.
is that it felt wrong, right? Because at the end of the day, you are still trying to deliver the same
Mhm.
thing,
Yep,
which is value to the business and
yep,
to your users.
absolutely, and I made a concerted effort myself in one of my last senior leadership roles to break down that tension, right, and not have that healthy tension anymore, and really kind of like, to your point, take it all from a singular approach and a singular alignment around, like, how do we know we're delivering value? Because that's the most important thing that we need to do, right? So,
You got it.
I love that. Let's go high for a second. Tell me a little bit about Wheel's mission.
Okay. Wheel is about making virtual care. Um, I would say even better than in-person care in
Mm,
many cases.
mhm,
We are trying to provide that infrastructure for virtual care to
mm,
improve access and quality for patients, right?
mhm.
There's no secret that healthcare in the United States is absolutely broken and not serving very many people well at all, if anybody. Right? And so Wheel is really trying to take that to the next level of
Mhm.
how do we meet patients where they are and match their expectations for what digital experiences can be.
Mm. And how much of that has kind of led to this intersection now, I guess, of the product as well as the patients having accessibility to the product? I mean, you have to really think about this sort of like 24/7 sort of digital storefront, I would assume, right, Michelle?
Yeah, so it is the combination of both the technology and the humans. It's part of what I love about Wheel, right? We
Mm,
cannot provide patient care without the human beings, right? So it
mhm,
is using tools to amplify our clinicians.
mm.
Um, One of the speakers at Health that I was lucky enough to hear is in charge of AI at Microsoft, and she talked about the invention of the stethoscope. And the stethoscope was so powerful and still in use today because it amplified the capabilities of the human being,
Sure, yeah, yeah.
right? So it helped them provide better care. And so that's sort of the challenge on our technology side is how do we amplify our clinicians and help them connect to the patients more easily?
That's a great story. I can actually remember learning about that in graduate school, and sort of the tubes, putting them up to people's chests and
And they
those.
didn't want to put an
Yeah,
ear on a lady's chest, right? It
right,
was a little
exactly.
too close.
A
So
little too
how are we
close
going to
for
solve this
comfort,
problem?
yeah. So you mentioned True Pill at kind of the beginning. You're obviously capable, Michelle, more than capable of working in a variety of different industries, verticals, taking product leadership spaces in anywhere, right? You could be working in automotive, or you could be working in education. So where's the inspiration to digital health, Michelle? Where's that come from for you?
Yeah, so, it's kind of a journey, so I'll if you're here for story time, I'll give you a story. So most of my product career has been following relationships with human beings.
Ah, I love it.
But the very first entrance into product was I went to a startup that was building a product I was passionate about.
Mm,
So once upon a time, people used to sign up for activities, marathons, 5Ks, your turkey trot. We just came up from Thanksgiving. Sign your kids up for Little League. All of that used to be done on paper.
right.
And there was a company who was moving all of that digitally. This was pre-Stripe. We're back in the olden days now, right? We had to have our own payment processor. So we were making online registration something that was a configurable B2B2C tool,
Wow.
and then also building the content around it. And at the time, I was super excited about triathlon and consuming all the content I could get my hands on. There wasn't much yet, and I was lucky enough to find myself at a company called Active, who was sort of driving this revolution.
Mm,
And I stayed at Active for 8 years. It was an absolute joy and
mm,
journey. We went through the
mm.
IPO and out the other side, just tons of growth, just opportunities that you would not normally get to sign yourself up for
So
as
cool.
that company expanded. And then the relationships. They were able to attract whatever talent they wanted in the wellness space. And so I got to meet a ton of really amazing people. When I came out of that experience, after 8 years there, I was pretty disastrously burned out,
I bet. Yeah.
as one might imagine, right? Like, it was my
Sure.
social life, it was my work life, it was
Everything.
in person,
Yeah.
hours and hours, right? It was everything. I was job shadowing my clients, and, that would be also my hobby, and it was all entangled, and I was pretty terribly burned out. So I swore off I was never gonna be an employee again.
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to follow my relationships into a bunch of really cool consulting opportunities.
Hmm.
So I did independent consulting along the way. And one of the companies that I consulted for was in the digital health space.
Mhm.
So again, followed a relationship, got a phone
Yeah.
call from a friend who said, I'm going out on maternity leave and we need someone who can swoop in with product horsepower. Can you do it? And I said, sure, sounds interesting. And I got this real taste for the complexity of the problem, the joy of solving problems in a complex space,
Yeah.
the passion of the people who care about the patients that they were trying to serve. And I thought, oh, well, this is
This
this
is
is fun.
interesting. Yeah.
And then I went and did a bunch of other stuff for a while, right? But it whet my appetite. So follow more relationships, work my way through a couple of different companies, land in the insurance space.
Ah.
Before coming into tech, I had been an underwriter briefly.
Mhm.
So there was a nice adjacency there where I had some domain knowledge. And then that sort of moved the transition of you're in heavily regulated industry,
Mm.
adjacency from insure tech into
Mhm.
health tech
Sure.
was a pretty natural fit.
Sure.
Followed one of my product managers from Limelight Health, where we were
Oh,
building
yeah.
insurance,
Yeah.
over to TruePill.
Mhm.
And then from there, with my time at TruePill, I really had the opportunity, stage in life, stage in company, to think about what do I really want to do next?
Nice.
And bringing it all the way
All the way back.
back to that
Yeah.
experience that I had consulting, it was, oh, I actually want to be even closer to the patients.
Right.
Um, and so I found Wheel. I'd also admired Michelle Davey,
Yeah.
our CEO, from afar, and Wheel's story. They're, they've been in the industry for a while, and so that's the long and the short of how I found my
Love
way
it.
to health tech and to Wheel
Yeah.
in general.
Well, and I love what you just said too about following the relationships, right? And I've actually done a lot of that in my career as well, right? Kind of moving from organization to organization because I was either following people or, to your point, relationships. But then being able to come into an organization where you had admired the CEO from afar, you believed in what they were doing, right? And sort of
Yes,
what the organization was trying to do around designing for trust, designing for patient empowerment, and all those wonderful things. That's a pretty special journey. So thank you for sharing that with us.
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit of an adjacent now of sort of like the leadership track for you, Michelle. So obviously, not everybody wants to be a leader. Not everybody. I think everybody is born to be a leader. They just have to unlock their potential. That's my opinion. But not everybody wants it. I've actually had product managers work for me who have said, "Do not ever promote me into a leadership position. I don't want to be a leader." you know,
Yes.
where'd that leadership journey kind of start to gather for you, Michelle?
Yeah, I love that you said that. I was actually lucky enough back at that first startup back at Active, I was lucky enough to meet a really outstanding product manager who had 0 interest in the people management track. And he was, ancient. He was 40 years old or
Oh my
something crazy. Yeah, shocking. But he said, "I just wanna build really excellent products." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that's an interesting option to consider." But for me, I sort of fell into it. Um, at Active, the company was growing like crazy, and so my stewardship and scope of responsibility, opened up,
Mm.
right? So I was managing my first part of the business, and it was the things that only happen at startups. I was doing product and project and client management and running some database jobs at night, like holding things together, running a little front end web dev. It was just sort of this mashup job.
Whatever you need.
And then as the company grew, there was, hey, we need what you're doing here on
Yeah.
these other areas as
Yeah.
well. The other thing, I think some of it was luck and timing, in
Mm.
as much as I had worked in a pretty stuffy but high intensity and high trust role inside the banking industry before
Oh.
coming into startup life.
Mm. Mm.
And so I had a maturity around quality
Mhm.
that anchored from um, my job there. My mentor, it was at Wells Fargo. My mentor there at Wells Fargo said, "It's not life or death, but it's people's money, and that's the next closest
That's
thing."
I was gonna say that for a lot of people, that is life
Hilariously,
or
that
death.
I now working in a realm where it can be life and death. Um, but that sort of this was a startup where it was a lot of people who were early career,
Mm.
and didn't have a lot of, "This is what done quality looks like." It was done fast, and
Yeah.
I had some of that sort of, caution and some lived experience that I was able to bring to the table, so that opened some doors for me.
That's great. I mean, done fast can be okay, right? But eventually you gotta get to done quality. And,
Yes.
similarly as you working in spaces where it does impact people's lives and someone actually could die or have a bad event as a result of this, definitely changes the calculus, right? For sure.
Yes. Yeah, and at the time, Active had started in the adult spaces, so they were
Okay.
providing online registration, like I said, for the 5K, for your
Yeah.
marathon, for your triathlon, but that time that I was joining, it was a big push into youth sports,
Mm.
and the standards for security
Yeah.
with your someone's children's data is is next level compared to what even we expect for ourselves, and
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
it was
Don't
it was really that chance there, and then, along the way, it's always because 'cause I've come and gone back down into individual contributor roles,
Mhm.
a little bit in my career, it's always just about how do we build the thing? How do we
Yeah.
create the value? I was trained as a scrum master pretty early on,
Oh,
and
wow.
that informed a lot about how I feel about leading
Mm.
teams and leading
Mm.
people,
Mhm.
And I think that servant leadership and coaching style approach really resonates with technologists. These are very bright, very capable people who go
Agreed.
into technology, whether that be in product or in engineering, data, design. Um, People don't find their way into this because they're lazy and
Right.
not bright,
Agreed.
right? And so, but there's a lot of management philosophies and structures in place that really come from factory life and manufacturing and cranking out a bunch of widgets that are really at the opposite of what will create excellent creative work,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
What will retain and engage and inspire
Right.
someone who's trying to solve a riddle,
Mhm.
right? Like, and so then you're getting into peak human performance stuff.
Yeah.
And what do you need to do your best work? And that's very different from how do we crank out a certain number of widgets per hour.
I agree. I felt, again, similarly to you, at moments in my career where we were really leaning into servant leadership and we were really focused on performance coaching, right? Where we saw the best experiences that we were creating for our patients. And I do want to kind of pull on that a little bit too, because another area that you definitely are a big champion of is product design. Is sort of this building into it, very intuitive experiences, clinically, operationally, regulatory. They all have to collide in a very a happy way, right?
Yes.
And you kind of mentioned, oh, my hobby was doing contextual interviews, which I kind of chuckled at. So tell me a little bit about your approach, I guess, to human-centered technology, Michelle, a little bit about how you think about, look, we need to use behavioral science here because if we can't reduce friction in the care delivery that we're doing through Wheel, then what are we doing? Right?
Right.
Tell me a little
So
bit about
I
your approach
a
there.
couple of words pop to mind there. One is empathy.
Mhm.
Another is curiosity.
Mhm.
And another is experimentation.
Mhm.
So the empathy piece, every user is first and foremost a human.
Yeah.
And so the people who are coming to our healthcare experiences, that are digital healthcare experiences, are the same people who are shopping on Amazon and enjoying curbside pickup at Target. It's the same human being,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And the
Yep.
clinicians
And
who
to
are
think that they're
using.
not is crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The clinicians who are using our tools are the same humans who are scrolling through TikTok,
Mhm.
right? It's not a this is the user and they fit in this box. So
Yeah.
having empathy for the human being on the other end
Mm.
is absolutely critical. On the curiosity piece, it is really a humility that comes to play. And one of the I'm kind of anti-tech bro. One of the tech bro things that I've seen that's kind of a poison, I think, is the hubris to think you know everything.
Yeah.
Right. So coming with curiosity of I have a hypothesis. Love this from the research world, right?
Mhm.
UXR is really good
Mhm.
at saying we have a hypothesis.
How do we
What can
test
we
it?
check? How do we test it?
Mhm.
What are our blind spots? Right? What might we be missing here? And just thinking, yes, we should test this, not I know this already. We're just
Right.
gonna ship it. It's obvious that the button should be blue, Richard. Um, but so that curiosity, the endless curiosity,
Mhm.
always wonder. And then the experimentation is again, it's gonna sometimes not stick.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna do the best research that we can. We're gonna shift left. We're gonna put prototypes in front of people. That is even more powerful and flexible than it's ever been, thanks to AI tools.
Mm.
But but we're not gonna always get it right. And
Right.
so
Mm.
that flexibility to experiment and creating space to experiment, even if it's tiny experiments, so that we can get better. Because
It
we don't have the answers, right?
Right, right, and I love what you said about that, breaking down that hubris of, I know what's best," or "I know what's right," is so, so, so important. The other, way that I have only seen this successful, Michelle, is because, look, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it doesn't. It really kinda depends on your approach to product design, right? But in instances where it does take longer because you're really thinking about these intuitive experiences, and it does take a little longer, do you have the buy-in from the senior leadership, Michelle? I mean, you're a senior leader, but I'm going even above you. You're a CEO, your board. How do they kind of think about sort of the psychology of product design?
Yeah, I get kicked out of product if I don't quote Marty Kagan at least once a conversation. So we can check that one off. I gotta say AI, I gotta
We'll
say
take
Marty
your I'm
Kagan.
gonna take your membership card.
Right. But the idea of an outcomes-driven roadmap really is where we can all gather together
Mhm,
on it, right? If we focus on the problem that we're trying to solve, the metric that we're trying to move, the outcome we're trying to deliver for the business, for the
mm,
user, then we can have a little more openness around experimentation because we can ship the feature, measure its
yeah,
success, and then have a conversation as a leadership team of did we achieve the outcome we intended to? How much of that outcome did we achieve?
yeah,
Do we want to continue pursuing that same outcome, or is there another outcome that's more important for us
yeah.
for the business right now?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that because you're really then you're doing sort of an informed trade, right? I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
There are always trades,
Right.
right? There
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
is there's never a shortage of ideas.
Right.
It is always a question of prioritization and trade-offs.
Mm. The last CPO role that I held, Michelle, was in the dental space, and
Mm.
that was a first foray into dental medicine for me. But one of the areas that I found, let's just call it refreshing in the dental space, was it's probably one of the few spaces where you do have a lot of price transparency. Like this is what this dental implant is going to cost. This is how you're potentially going to pay for it. You're going to use care credit. You're going to use some of your savings. You're going to use some insurance. But pricing transparency in medical healthcare, not dental, but medical, it's still a huge barrier. And I know this is
Oh,
an area that you are just chipping away at. You're thinking about how to simplify it. You're thinking about these surprise billing moments. I got one the other day. Tell me about what you're doing there to kind of empower consumers around price transparency in virtual care.
yeah, it is abysmally bad today, right? Estimates don't match your bills.
Yeah.
People have no idea what something costs.
Mhm.
At the point of care, you're not thinking about it. You're just thinking about access and
Right.
how do I get the care that I need.
Mm.
You could go on and on about all those different problems.
Sure.
At Wheel, we are working on, again, coming back to that idea of a human being.
Yeah.
When a human being shops for anything other than healthcare, they have expectations about transparency.
Yeah.
You expect that you're gonna see what the price is.
Mhm.
So for us, there's a couple of different factors. There's the cost of the medical visit itself, and then there's the cost of the pharmacy or the lab prescription,
I see.
right? And so for the cost of the medical care itself, that's something we can surface in our UI
Mhm.
and make that really present and available for patients, for the different client programs, that we're running.
Mhm.
We can share that pricing up front. If it's a cash pay is really easy. If it's insurance, it's a little bit trickier, right? But
Sure.
we can share estimated copay, estimated amounts up front.
Mm.
Another thing that we're doing in that space of things that we can control is we are doing an AI prior authorization tool.
Oh,
It
cool.
is good for our clinicians and
Mm.
it's good for our patients,
Mhm.
right? It's pointless for a physician to prescribe something if it's absolutely going to be declined for that patient and the price is going to be out of their range.
Right.
But if at the point of care, at the point of prescribing, we're able to serve up to our clinicians essentially a recommendation about what's going to happen for that patient and that drug,
Mhm.
then they can have an informed conversation
I see.
at the point of care.
I see.
Um,
Yep.
then on the other side is the pharmacy piece, and that's an area where healthcare, no one company can solve healthcare,
Right.
right? Our platform is part of an ecosystem, and so our ecosystem partners, um, who can share stock status availability, pricing
Mhm.
availability with us.
Mhm.
When that's available, we can surface that to the patients and they can make an informed decision. So they can think about, is it better for me to do a same day
Yeah.
um, courier type delivery? Is it better for me to do mail order because I can get a little bit of savings and I can wait a couple of days? Or is this a prescription that I need right now and I'm going to go to my retail pharmacy?
Right.
And as the pharmacy landscape shifts, the our our platform's built in such a way that we can absorb, um, the data from those other partners and surface it to patients as it becomes available. And one of my personal goals is to help drive that into the pharmacies of
Mm.
the United States so that it becomes a table stakes item for them to share that data up with us
Mm. And I
and the
just
other
go
players in the space.
as you were describing that, Michelle, I just go back to your earlier comment about how people live in the digital world and they have certain expectations about living in the digital world. And I was just thinking about, look, I go on Amazon.com and I go to order the, this plant holder, and it's out of stock, and I can instantly see that it's out of stock.
Right.
And then maybe Amazon suggests other sellers that are third party sellers, or it does other things, or it tells me when it estimates it's going to have it back in stock, and I have different pricing options. Why isn't that, why isn't that the same when it comes to our medical care, right? And
Yeah.
because you said the expectations are already there.
And
So
meanwhile, we're still faxing each other in
right.
the medical world, right? Mm,
Absolutely, absolutely.
This
Yeah.
is and HIPAA has its boundaries. It has a lot of power, which is
Of course.
great, but those boundaries require us to be more creative about
Yep.
our solve, and again, to keep the patient and the
Absolutely.
clinician, the human beings at the center.
Mhm. You mentioned some of your important partners that you have within your ecosystem. And I'm curious, Michelle, as to some of the business lines around virtual care that you see sort of exploding, things that, you guys are leaning into. Certainly, there are a lot of people who are working on virtual healthcare as it pertains to women's health, maternal health. I just spoke to someone yesterday who is working on something related to supplements and herbal health and Chinese medicine on the virtual front lines as well. What are some of the areas that you are seeing from the front lines, Michelle?
Yeah, what we're seeing is a lot of the same of what's happening across the industry.
Mhm.
GLP-1s is another thing I have to say every
Oh, yes.
conversation. You can't avoid it, right?
Yeah,
The power that those medications have and the unmatched consumer demand, is driving all of our clients, even folks who weren't necessarily in metabolic health or weight loss,
sure.
towards adding those offerings
Mhm.
and thinking about how they can be combined with other care offerings.
Sure.
Women's health is another area for us, and
Right.
working for a women-led company, it's a really easy thing, for us to talk about, but, it's our medical director, Dr. Stephen McDonald, did a training for the whole company about how underserved, the menopause patient
Oh,
is,
that's great.
um,
Such an
and some of the
important
history
thing right now.
around
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so women's health, then the intersection of women's
Mm,
health and GLP-1s is certainly there, right? When you think about the
mm.
fertility patient who also is trying to lose weight as, right, these sort of combo effects that are there.
Sure.
Um, we are also seeing, interest in longevity, of course, right? So these are the big industry
Yeah.
trends that
Yep.
are happening, and that sort of knocks on our door,
Mm.
at
Mhm.
Wheel. And then we're also thinking about how do we innovate and stay ahead? This is
Yeah.
an area that is rapidly changing. The orals are coming very soon in the GLP-1 space. There's regulatory changes, there are consumer behavior changes.
Yeah.
It is never a dull moment, and we're just trying to think about how do we partner really closely with our clinical teams so that we can take the flexibility of our platform and match the right care at
I
the
love
right
it.
time.
Yeah, I love that. Um, it's so exciting, right? It is so exciting to see all of these different sort of, I don't even want to call them verticals, Michelle, right? I mean, they're really just all of these different sort of offerings that are coming together through telespecialty services. There's so much innovative pressure as a result of that. So I guess my next question would be, how are you gating the innovative pressure right now for you and your team?
Um, I wouldn't say that I'm gating it.
Yeah. Okay. Just let it go. Yeah. Yeah. Let your
No,
hands fly.
I might even be fueling the fire. Um, right? Part of the reason I chose Wheel and came to Wheel was that Michelle had already had her AI awakening,
Mm,
right? She already saw the importance of catching that wave
mhm.
and what that will mean for the future of Wheel and for the future of the kind of care that we can offer for patients.
Nice.
So we are pushing our teams, to be innovating, and making this shift to be an AI first company,
Mhm.
even though we weren't AI native.
I like it.
And so what that comes with is looking at not just capabilities that we don't have today,
Mhm.
but also for the capabilities that we do have today, which of those need to evolve to AI
AI.
first,
Yep.
in
Yep.
which order, right?
Yeah.
It's a sequencing question for
Sure.
us. But really the consumer expectation are going to be for very flexible
Mhm.
experiences,
Mhm.
hyper personalized,
Yep.
right? And then ultimately the better outcomes because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even the simplest things like scheduling, right? I mean, all of that is so ripe for sort of AI disruption. And yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's
And then there's invisible things too, right?
sure.
Like we took advantage of AI as a way for us to expand our chart audits from the industry standard of single digit sampling based
Mm,
audits to 100% chart audits because we run them through an AI audit first that then flags for the human reviewer anything that needs additional coaching,
mm,
um, so that
mm.
our human reviewers are spending the time on the areas that'll be most valuable for providing excellence in care. So there's the safety component of the audit, but then there's the extraordinary patient experience component, and we look at both.
Both. Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting. Good on you guys. Very exciting.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like, and I just thought you said like, I'm not gating innovation. I'm not, I'm we're just like,
We're going. We're
we're going. I
going.
love it. I love it. Um, you mentioned Michelle a couple of times, Michelle Davy, your CEO, in this conversation, and this is a podcast about women. We do have a lot of sort of rising product leaders, not just product leaders, but just women leaders in general,
Mm.
right? That are listening to this conversation, that will listen to this conversation. What do you kind of when you think about either mentorship opportunities that you find yourself in, Michelle, as a mentor, or advice you're giving to rising women in leadership positions? It doesn't even necessarily need to be in healthcare tech. Where are you kind of finding yourself coming down around that?
Yeah, I am a big believer in the Clifton Strengths Finder
Mm,
approach,
great
right?
approach.
So
Yep.
knowing what your superpowers are,
Mm,
is really, I think, your best chance. So
yeah.
if you're 5'2", you are probably not gonna play in the NBA.
Or
It's
the
just not
WNBA.
happening. Or the NBA. Probably not, right? Like, it's probably not gonna happen. But if you look at what you're really great at, and then you think about matching that up to a need, it really, to me, becomes kind of a product management exercise,
Yeah.
um, which is what problem are you able to solve for your employer?
Mm,
For the team that you're in. Even if you're at a big company, you can think, in a smaller realm of what's the team and what's the role that I can play there,
mm,
and emphasizing leaning into your strengths,
mhm.
is a great opportunity, I think, for female leaders. The other is, I was lucky enough to grow up with parents who, um, introduced us to sports and lots of different activities, and there was never really anything that was off the table.
Nice.
And so the other thing that I have learned that is not every woman that I meet had the luxury
Yeah.
of essentially the default assumption in their life is that you can do anything that you wanna try and do.
Mm, mhm.
And so what I've seen, with adults is even trying something, learning something that's new and scary, you build that capability and you build that, muscle of being uncomfortable,
Mhm.
right? So try something new, learn something new, not at all work related.
Right.
Not at all work related, right? I got a ton of energy and confidence recently by learning how to ski a couple years ago.
Mm.
I was late to the skiing game. I was a terrible snowboarder. Um, I was a terrible snowboarder, but I decided it was time to learn to ski, and I did it the right way. I got an instructor. So this is an example, right, of
Yeah.
how this translates to business. I
Mm.
found someone who knew, had been there, done that, who could watch for and help me and feedback for me. I paid them to do it,
Of course.
but that in business life, you can hire a coach, you can find a good mentor, right? So find someone who's been there, done that,
Mm.
and then practice.
Yeah.
Practice, practice, practice. So I went up every weekend and I stayed a really long time on the bunny slopes, and I had the humility to suck at something new,
Yeah. To fall
right?
down a
And
bunch of times. Yep.
a
Yep.
bunch of times,
Yep.
and to go step by step and to build that skill. And then bringing that energy back into work, that energizing, "Okay, well, what do I wanna learn?
Yeah. Here in
What's
the office, here at the
here in the
workshop. Yeah.
office? What's the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
thing for me to spend some time learning on?
Yeah.
Who can I go and seek out through one of my relationships from one of my colleagues?" When I went into pharmacy space, I was able to work really closely with our pharmacists and learn a ton about pharmacy business from
Mm,
them, about the operational side of it, about the clinical side of it, right? So who can you learn from,
mm.
is I think a great approach to take.
Who have you learned from the most, Michelle?
Ooh, that is a tough question because I Wow, picking one is very hard.
You don't have to pick one. That's okay. You could pick a couple.
Um,
You probably don't wanna leave mom and dad out of it, so, you
yes,
know.
yeah, so my parents, I absolutely put in there. There's 2 big lessons from my parents, and I'll group them together.
Sure.
One of them is, generosity,
Nice.
selfishness. So that piece of it, like, you are part of a bigger
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
And then the other is that I can do hard things.
Nice. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
dad had a triple bypass when he was 44
Oh, goodness. Wow.
and then started cycling
Mm.
and then started changing his life.
Wow.
And sort of this idea of the hard things that we choose is a
Yeah.
big theme in our family,
Right.
whether that be I can run a marathon or I can make it through this production issue, like this bug that's at hand, whatever the hard thing is, I can do hard things.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
appreciate that.
I
I
actually have
really
a
do.
little sign in my office that's in my dad's handwriting
Oh,
that
I love
reads,
that.
that I can do hard things." So that's I've learned a ton from my parents.
Yeah.
I have also learned a lot from a CEO that I worked for at a smaller company in San Diego,
Mhm.
a guy named Gary Peterson, and Gary now actually coaches leaders,
Oh, great.
as his profession.
Plug
But
to Gary.
yeah, plug to Gary. One of the things that Gary made a point of cultivating leaders in his organization,
Mhm.
right? So taking the time to repeat and talk about the values
Mm.
at every single opportunity that we had, to talk about what goal setting looks like, to talk about what excellence looks like, um, and to have it be a continuous learning. And these are skills that we can learn. You don't walk
Yeah.
on the door
Yeah.
as a great leader, and that culture in that way can be really intentional.
Yeah. I appreciate.
Um,
Yeah.
oh god, there's so many. I'm
So
gonna just
many.
keep
Yeah.
going until you stop me.
No, we've
Um,
got good ones here. Yeah. I'll give you
I
one
have
more.
learned a ton from my kids.
Oh.
I have two little boys who are 2 years apart, 20 months apart,
Wow.
and they are wildly different. And part of what they have helped me is to not take myself too seriously.
I love that. Yep.
They have brought more laughter into my life,
Mhm.
and the importance of laughter. They help me remember that there is so much more to life than just the important work that we do,
Right.
right? And so to help maintain balance so I don't end up on that burnout path again.
Right.
But then also their differences and my ability to see them and love them for their strengths
Mhm.
helps me remember to look at other people, including myself, as that unique human being and what can that human, again, the talents and the strengths that are inherent to
That
each
they
of us.
inherit. Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm still reminiscing back to what you said about, do the hard things, Michelle, right? And from your dad, and that to me is really so much of what this comes down to, is not being afraid, whether it's skiing, whether it's cycling, whether it's learning about pharmacology, whether it's about PBMs. It's, don't be afraid to do the hard things, right? I love
Yes.
this. I love
Yeah,
this.
they're so gratifying,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
before becoming a mom, I did a lot of long distance endurance sports. And people like, "Oh, you're crazy." But
Mhm.
what, you know, and when I say long distance sports, I mean marathon, ultra marathon, was able to do
Triathlon.
a couple of Ironmans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
every
cool.
one of those is a hard thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's a
Yeah.
hard thing, and it is a lot of investment along the way, but that lesson of by tackling it bit by bit,
Yeah.
by consistency instead of one big giant effort, it doesn't happen overnight. This is
Mhm.
consistency over years that you get to be able to do this hard thing, and that's
I
a
love it.
privilege,
Yeah,
right? It's a privilege to be able to work
it
on
is.
solving the mess that is healthcare in the United States right
Absolutely,
now.
especially the approach that you folks are taking. So thank you for that. Um,
Thank you.
Michelle, where can we find you? Where can we follow you? Wheels work. Where do we go?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
I've been starting to write a bit more. I do not X, but yeah, LinkedIn is the best. LinkedIn is the best place to find me.
Perfect.
We're out on the trails,
Yeah,
and
I'll
at
take
women
you
in
again
product
throwing up.
events. Right, I try and be active member of the community.
Yeah,
Um, I also am happy for folks to email me. I'm michelle.monaco@wheel.com.
thank you.
I have a commitment for a weekly practice of making sure I'm spending time giving back. So if folks want questions and want to talk about something that they're experiencing in their career, you mentioned there's a lot of folks who are sort of earlier stage in your audience. I
Absolutely.
make myself available. I might be a little slow getting back, but
That's okay.
it
That's
is
all
an
right.
area that I'm committed to. It's one of the ways that we can help learn from one another.
I love the intentionality. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. We've been chatting with our new friend, Michelle Monaco, Senior VP over at Wheel. And thank you. And thanks to everything that you folks are trying to do and accomplish with Wheel. Really important. And once again, we appreciate your time, Michelle.
It's been a lot of fun, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.